Welcome back, dear friends. I've had a busy couple of days since I released the last video. I wanted to try and get something done a little bit more to show you for this video. So, what have we been up to then? Well, at the end of the last video, I had just finished making, spinny things with ball bearings in for the neck, to mount the neck, and I'd printed half of the head to check all the features inside that I designed, and then I'd forgotten to actually group any of the features together. So there's no pivot holes, there's no mounting for the eye. What a fool I've been. And it only took, 6.5 hours to print. Never mind. So, what do you do in that situation? Well, you do remember to add all the internal structures and holes and things, and you print it again. So, I've got that done. I have worked out how to do the mouth, because the problem is, of course, this is only half the head. There's going to be two halves, funnily enough. Not three, but two fixed together. So, for example, the jaw, the mouth, needs some way of getting a pivot in there and in the other side to support this. Oh, it's also small. I'm worried, dear friends, whether I've bitten off less than I can chew, in a manner of speaking. So, that's the first time I've used an M2 screw in one of these projects. So now it's going to be possible to cut, that's a 2mm hole through it, so to cut some things. So I've got to sort that out. I've also printed another one of the eyelids with the gear on, and the 3D printed gear, which I think you might have seen right at the last minute of the last one. There's the gear that's going on the motor support, solenoid support, eyeball support. So I'm going to start chopping bits out and assembling them and seeing if it works. It really is quite terrifying. I was so thrilled when the Lazy Susan bearing worked first time. I really don't know about the rest of it. The tolerances are so tight because everything is so small. I've had a look at the original design a couple of times. It seems like to be the size of a room. It's just got so much free space. And this one is, what a lot of stuff. This is the drawing I'm up to now. This is number 45, 45th drawing. And just to make sure that I don't lose anything that's important, I always, before I fiddle with it, make a copy. So you end up with all sorts of things scattered around the place. So the last thing that I did, there's the eye with the gear attached. So I copied that into a new document on 3D Builder and settled it like that. And amazingly, I think I mentioned this last time as well, without the gear on it, but it can print that. So I set it to the highest quality, which is 0.06mm per layer, and because the layers are always curving, it's never just suddenly asked to print something that's out floating in space. Isn't that amazing? Right up to here, it manages to slowly go over the internal curve. So that's nice. My problem. Here is the servo motor. One of the small ones, I can't remember what number it is, SG90 or something. That needs to be fixed into this bit. I decided I would rather like to have all the motors and things actually in the head, so that the user can just screw the base down wherever they want it to be without having anything other than wires hanging out the bottom. I like a challenge, and I was thinking about screwing this up, fixing it in from underneath, because you can't get to the top, because when the neck's down on it, it's not enough room. It's been so complicated. There's the neck, of course, that's going to be fixed, be printed as part of that. So I was going to poke it down up from underneath, then down from the top, and realised it wouldn't fit. And of course, with these ones, you've got the wires coming out on one side of the servo motor, so you can't have a hole cut like that because the wires won't go through. So that ruled out that plan, that way of doing it. And then I spent this morning come up with a new super improved plan where it goes up from underneath. That's right, this bit was going to be all moulded, printed with this, but now this bit screws onto here from underneath, and this isn't screwed in at all. It's clamped, because now we're screwing that onto that. This can just sit here, the top can be lowered on, and it'll just hold that in. There's a little gap which I haven't designed there yet. That's the future. And hopefully that will be great. So that's what I've been doing all morning. It's amazing how long it takes. It's like playing a computer game. You sit down and think, I'm just going to do that, just work on that little bit. And you look up and it's 3 hours later. Hopefully this will work though. Heinous sin, I've just realised I'm not printing anything. One interesting thing that I calculated, when I was going to print this head, so I wanted to check that I had in fact got enough filament left on this almost empty roll, so I wouldn't take the dog out and then suddenly realise that I came back and the filament had run out and it had absolutely ruined the print. So I measured the diameter of this. I've already recorded this once just now and forgotten every single mathematical word that there is. And then multiplied that by 3.14 to get the circumference, then multiplied that by 38, which was the number of separate loops around each roll, and it came out to 10.5 meters. Isn't that amazing? I just had to share that with you because that really doesn't look like 10.5 meters, one layer of that, but it is. So I'm still using that. Right, enough wittering. I'm going to print the neck, of course. That's the next thing to do. Never wanting to waste a second, I've got this preheating for PLA Plus, whilst going to put the neck drawing sliced on this. I just can't get over this. That's 8 gigabytes. That's incredible how they can fit all that in there. It's mind-blowing. It's the same sort of thing as me not believing that aeroplanes should be able to fly with the wings being so small. Do we all live in a construct? That's what I ask myself. I tell you, 3D Builder can be very frustrating. It's lovely to use, but for example, I've created 3 of these because these are the screw threads. I'm going to subtract them from the basin parts. You see it's up there. I'm going to click on that and then I'm going to click edit and subtract. And then, for some entirely unknown reason, and I know because I've sat here and waited for this several times doing useful jobs during the meanwhilest, and it doesn't do anything. I can click on the cross to get it to cancel that subtraction, and it takes ages to cancel it. You can't do anything while it does, and I'm stuck. I've tried moving it in a little bit, out a little bit, to the left, to the right, shake it all about, etc, etc. Nothing. So that's really frustrating. The other 3, click subtract, and that was it. They're just done. However, with this one, whilst we're waiting, you can see what I was talking about earlier. It's all the same colour. Oh, there's a little bit of shadow there. That's where the little fin parts on the servo motor are going to sit, and they'll be clamped into space with 4, possibly 3 screws. The screws look like this because you've got the screw thread, and then you've got a bit of clearance, and then you've got it through countersunk particles. So I'm just going to sit here now and wait, and then try and figure out how on earth to get this thing to subtract. Actually, I have to say I've been very lucky with this project, because in the past it has happened with previous heads. It seems to have happened a lot more often. I don't attribute that to any sort of software upgrades. I attribute it to me getting better at designing automaton heads with 3D Builder. I thank you. It's probably not true at all. Thank goodness for that. Look. It has actually subtracted the thread. Oh, look, dear friends. I've mounted the motor. I'm making, well, not copious, probably will end up being copious, but notes as I go along for things, because obviously I'm trying so many different bits all at once. So the motor's fixed on with its gear pushing on really nicely. I can adjust this by loosening that screw because there's the slot, so I can angle that, and then that is turning that. And what's that doing? That's opening and closing the eyelid. And there's only one eyelid, there's no eyeball yet. That's a bit unpleasant. But look, and there's only 0.5 millimetre clearance around that. Oh, that's most exciting, especially considering that there's going to be another one of these glued to that sticking out here with another one of these support things that I might combine into one. So it's going to have far more support. I'm absolutely amazed that that works. Oh, look at that. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. So from the front, oh lovely. I'm so pleased about that. I really didn't know whether that was going to work. It clatters a bit, but with the previous heads I've managed to use some felt in certain strategic positions to stop it clattering, so I'll have a little experiment with that. Oh, I'm very pleased about that. That's most exciting. And during the meanwhile as well as doing that, look, I've printed one of the bases with the screw holes and everything, and the slots for the servo motor. That's right, I'm saying it right this time. And the bit that goes in there that's going to hold the servo motor. I can say it twice without getting it wrong. So the idea is, because the servo motor has a 180-degree sweep movement, I've got lots of wires that I need to get out of here. It sounds something unimportant, but it's actually quite important. So look, there's a hole right through, like that. Ooh, that's exciting as well, because I was thinking, here are my screw holes that I finally managed to make all 4 of. I was thinking, well, if you can't get to those, the only way to take the whole thing apart, say you wanted to replace the servo motor, would be to empty all the balls out of the hole, and then you could get it apart, which is really silly. I was thinking perhaps I could make a little hole underneath, but look, they all line up, which means that if you want to get it apart, take the neck apart, you can do it at any time of your choosing. So that sits in there, no screws required, no problem with the wire, that's lovely. And then that, once I've put the balls in, should hopefully, well, that's good, but that's fine, because when the neck clamps down on that, hopefully that'll all hold it. Currently I am 3D printing half the neck, because it's going to be very important to check that it doesn't bang into that or that when the head looks up and down. Also, I need to work out how to fix the servo motor in this side, and where to fix some sort of fixing to get it to go up and down. Actually, what I'm going to do, I want to see whether this works. It's too exciting, so I will hopefully try and get the balls out of this one. I don't know how easy that's going to be. Oh, there's one. Oh, you see, that's good. Let's just push balls in the L. Oh. I stupidly didn't count. Never mind. But look, that's nice. So that's repeatable. Right, there's my little hole bunger upper, just to make sure that we don't lose any. So we've got that. Let's. Oh, look. I'm not going to do it too fast because it'll damage the gears, but oh, fabulous. Well, the next finished printing, it's just, oh, it's ridiculous. I know I've said it before, but it's so small. And I've tried it in here and with a pivot through it, and it does, she can look up a nice long way, but when she looks down, the neck bangs into the mouth. I can't see what I'm doing, and opens the mouth. That's right, so that doesn't work. So what I'm going to do now is to fiddle and fart around with this a little bit. It's the next day. Let's have a look and see. If you notice here, suddenly there's lots of parts that are yellow in colour. No, the reason being that I need some way of reminding myself. This is, what number is this? Number 46 design. I need some way of reminding myself which bits that I've updated and worked on. Here's one I've updated and worked on. Remember that the head was banging into the neck at the front. Wasn't looking down far enough, so I just sliced a little bit off with an oval shaped thing and a square shaped thing, and then added some grub screws here so you can fix the shaft in, the neck shaft. Little things like that keep me amused for hours. I also enlarged the screw holes for the motor because I don't want to have to drill them out. That's another whole story. Oh, and look, the mouth. Because if you remember, it was banging in. Oh, some things floating about in the front. It was banging in to the neck coming up and things, so it's forcing it to open. So I needed to put a sort of Z shape in it. Now, this is another interesting about 3D printing. Go away. Here's one I prepared even earlier, and I tried to print that as I did with the original one, just sitting upright. No, I didn't. It sat down. I did it like this, actually. Look, this is lovely. It's got an object settle. I did it like that because theoretically everything is still at an angle. Let me show. Yeah, so you can see it sort of should be able to print all this because there's no horizontals floating out in space. But it didn't. I'll show you what it looked like in a minute, hence the fact version 2. And just with the aid of angled sides and printing it sitting on its side, it worked beautifully. This thing is a template because if you remember, I've only got half the head, and I want to fix on the servo motor that's going on the other side of the head to work out how to move, how it can be connected to the neck. So I just printed this out so I can screw it onto the side I've got without having to print another whole head half, and experiment with that. So lots and lots to be getting on with. So this is what I mean. Look, the mouth printed beautifully because it could just vertical or slightly angled horizontal lines that aren't horizontal. Anywho, here's the one that didn't work. It started printing, and then it just couldn't cut, was coming back down or something, and it went horribly wrong. But here's the one that I printed on its side with a support raft, so it stuck, and it could just print up. It's not perfect, but that side is completely hidden, so I can just trim off any little fluffy bits. But I'm really pleased, and that was printing at 0.1 millimeters, the standard one, standard quality. And now it's got a little lip to register. We'll try that in a minute. And of course, the other thing I need to be constantly thinking about is that all this has to be able to be assembled. You have to be able to get in and fix these things together without some hideous catch-22. Get to the screw heads, put things together in order, which makes it really quite entertaining. Look, that lip, because if you remember I had two little balls that would sit in holes. I've forgotten to get rid of the holes, never mind. And they didn't line up very well, whereas with this little lip, it just, oh, that's fantastic. I'm so pleased. The hole is circular. I've still got the single screw underneath to hold it together. That's lovely. Right, I'll stop talking, get all these bits together and get back to you. So I've got the new solenoid holder in, a little screw. I've got the new mouth in, which still works beautifully, and now you can see having that little Z shape means that the neck, she can look right up and really quite low down, and with that little bit trimmed off there as well. Did I even print that? No. I haven't printed the new neck. Oh, so much to remember. Well, she'll be able to look down even further, but this is lovely because even when she's looking down as far as she can, her mouth can still open, and that doesn't push it open. So that's really good. We're having some success. The next thing I'm going to do, take that motor off and put that little thing I printed on to hold the sort up. Too many S's, finally said it. The servo motor in place, and then work out how far this can move. So I'm going to have to print a new neck. Oh, would you believe it? And how to work out the linkage between that and that. I can't tell you how much time I spent. I hadn't slept well, and when I haven't slept well, my lateral thinking doesn't work at all. And I spent most of the day hunched over trying to sort out what on earth I could do with this servo motor to get it to lift the head. I thought about gears, and then I went and lay down and had a think and thought, oh, cams. So I tried a cam. You see the issue. There was just no room at all for that in the head. So that ruled that out. And in the end, I just sat there, thought about it long and hard, and realised that simply having one of the horn on there, but with the hole closest to it, it's 4mm away from the centre, I can just have a little linkage that comes down and fits onto the back of the neck somehow. I did all the calculations and measured it, and that works. And it's just so simple, it's perfect, because a 180-degree turn will allow it to look right up and look right down without it going too far and mashing up anything, so that's nice. Also had one of these, a broken one of these little servo motors, so I took all the insides out so I could spin it around and try things easily. Right, so that's sorted out. What is that? I hear you cry. Well, this is an idea to control the eyelids. Because what I've done on this side, there's an ear, here we are. I've built one of these because I was thinking about this. And I was thinking about blocking off some gaps between teeth, and that would stop it, but that's really nasty. So instead of which, have a sort of wedge shape that's fixed with felt along either side to deaden the sort of crash as this hits it each time. So it goes like that. And that corresponds to the eye being open and closed. I'll touch the wires on really briefly. Yeah. What about the other way? Obviously I'm going to have an H-bridge controller to do this, so... Oh, look! Oh, that's very exciting. It's amazing with these projects how I think I'm nowhere near finishing and suddenly realise I have actually designed practically everything. I'm getting there, and that's lovely to know. And it's lovely that things are actually working, transferring from the virtual world into the real world. Go, Lubberduck, strike a light, would you, Adam and Eve it? Just correcting this bit for the eye motor, and the holes are too small, the screws won't go through, so I just wanted to make them slightly larger, and it's corrupted. So I've done a copy of it and other stuff. Nah, this is the other thing that you get up whilst you're trying to discover whether it is corrupted. Please wait. It sometimes goes across quickly, sometimes it's so quick it doesn't appear. No, this time I've been sitting here emptying the dishwasher, nothing. So, because I want it to be perfect for this kit, I'm going to have to recreate this. Still, mustn't grumble. Thanks very much for enduring patience if you've got this far. I'll put a link to my shop, Etsy shop, in the links. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you next time when we should have moving parts.